Hello, class. I do apologize for the setting my animals, but hopefully they're not too much of a distraction. So I'm here today to talk to you about my crisis was the Samsung battery recall. So, regarding the Samsung battery recall, one of the things that I wanted to establish in this presentation is the conclusion that I came to on if they approached this recall in an ethical way. Did they inform people accordingly? And, was this overall something that impacted their business, but did it impact their business because of ethical issues, or did it impact their business solely based on sales and when the next phone was released and our consumption with technology? So something that I concluded initially was that when this initially happened in September of last year, they came out with an immediate press release talking about how the phones were starting to explode and how there was a defectiveness within the battery. They also identified within an infographic that there was a problem with the battery in the corner of the phone as well as on the side of the phone. On the corner of the phone, there were two electronegative currents that were actually impacted when the phone would fall. So that way they had a problem and there was really an issue on that corner. And then there was also on the side. So on the side, there was a welding problem. So two different problems with the battery, but they were really forward thinking about it and sent out a press release. But the issue that I had is it was very internal. A lot of their communication and things like that was not really on an external basis. So I think it really puzzled a lot of people as to why they weren't releasing a new phone. And then iPhone came out with three other releases and a tease of, whatever else they were going to come out with, and, very forward thinking about this, knowing that their competition was kind of down at this time. So then I approached it from an ethical standpoint as well. When you look at this from an ethical standpoint, you realize how forward they were. So the president of Samsung actually gave a video announcement, which was great. They also covered on a video scale all of, the pinpoints of this was the problem with the battery. This is what we've identified. We want to make sure it's better, and really had the intentions of sending out a news release to release the new phones in March of this year, which didn't end up happening, as all of you know. The phones were just newly released, and it's October. So when I approached this from an ethical standpoint, I looked at, was there full transparency? Really looked at those perspectives. Was there full transparency? Were they honest about everything? As far as from, economics are concerned, internally, were they really impacting, internal Samsung viewers as well? And so I think as a whole, they really were conscious about, consumers and things along those lines. So by putting the consumers forward, Samsung was really able to keep those people, those really loyal customers, because as all of you may or may not know, Samsung is not just mobile. They have skyscrapers and TVs and other electronics, and they're very forward thinking in a lot of software and technological advances. So they really had to protect themselves in a lot of ways because of the depth of that. So I guess the methods that I really took was I evaluated. There was a really great Time magazine article that helped me evaluate the timeline. So the timeline of it really started out in September and broke it out. September, the communication with this, and October, the communication with this. So it really helped to break out things and evaluate that from an ethical standpoint. And so that was very helpful in all of my research. So I think, as long as, and then within the results, that Samsung identified that, of 2 million Galaxy Note 7s, 96 were returned. There's 700 Samsung research tested, over 200,000 devices, 30,000 batteries. So this was really something that they dove into. And then after a thorough evaluation of the problem, they really took steps. They did an 8-point battery safety check. And without, question, Samsung, is a leader in, in their field. And they're consistently, as, one of their statements that came out talking about being committed to quality, they're exceeding industry standards and, some of this stuff is beyond safety controls. So as a result, one of my biggest recommendations was really for Samsung to put themselves out there on an external level if, Lord forbid, something like this happen again, and really keep people more informed. I think people were really they didn't know for a while, and it was very quiet and, kind of hush. And there were a lot of jokes and parodies made about it. People couldn't take phones on planes, but that's really a hindrance for the company. And I do think overall they took a very ethical approach in things. But really building marketing campaigns, being fully transparent, being honest, I really do feel that they, had the availability and took the right approach in order to keep the ethical nature of the company of Samsung. So that's all I have for you today. Explaining my paper, really talking about the Samsung battery recall and the fact that I do feel that they took a very ethical approach, and stood by their code of ethics when it came to, putting consumers first. So thank you.